You ready?
Let's get it. Did you hear from my boy?
Who?
These nuts! Gotcha!
That was good. So obviously you guys can tell that we are having fun. It's kind of late. Actually the wee hours of the next day. But
he's a trooper.
This is how you got to get it where you can fit it. I'm off tomorrow, so I joke about that. We're in sync, and as you guys probably saw from a couple of our previous blog posts, we went through a little bit of a patch to where we weren't in sync. So we thought, wow, how relevant would it be to talk about getting back in sync? So hence these nuts. Gotcha. Joke that Marie just pulled.
Got him.
Got me. There's really no disclaimer. You guys know that we're not counselors or anything. However, this is about married couples, committed couples, you're in a dating relationship, whatever your relationship status is. You probably could actually apply these to any type of relationship, even with a parent or a spouse or someone at work. But we kind of actually viewed this as in a committed, intimate relationship, intimate meaning, you know, monogamous type relationship that you have with someone. So there's a few principles that we'll cover kind of as ground rules that we try to focus on. These are not all encompassing. And then there's like 7 steps that we've kind of laid out, and you'll see us talk back and forth about these. But let's start with the principles. So again, this is all about getting back in sync. Okay, so there's kind of like 5 things that are important to us in terms of what grounds our relationship. We don't always live these perfectly, obviously. We're not perfect at them, and these kind of evolve and change, and 5 is not a magic number. But the first is assuming positive intent. And what I mean by that is in a relationship, when you're committed to someone, you really should have the assumption that that individual does not mean to do me harm. A positive intent, all that really means is, you know, when they do something, be it good or perceived bad, that it's not really out to harm you. A lot of times in our lives, because of past circumstances, we may assume negative intent. Me as an example, Maria may say something, she's very, very strong with her facial expressions, and I've had to train myself not to get caught in interpreting facial expressions, and sometimes I slip back a little bit, but I assume positive intent with her, that she's not asking something to make fun of me or to poke at me, or she just has a very firm stop. Second is to take a position of de-escalating versus escalating. Now, y'all know y'all been in situations before, be it at work or at home, and especially when you're when you're dealing with someone that you're being vulnerable with and that you trust and that you love. Typically that type of person knows how to press your buttons, or you expose yourself and you become vulnerable to the point to where your buttons are just wide open. There comes a point in some communications and arguments and in situations to where you can either pour gas on the fire or you can kind of smolder the fire. De-escalation, all that really means is pulling back a bit.
Yeah, don't let yourself go there. Like, this is your person. This is not the enemy. You're not at war. You might not be agreeing at the time, but this is your person. And
I'm going to give you an example of escalation, and you guys will be able to clearly see what de-escalation was. This is one of our first like major meltdown arguments, and this is actually over filming some stuff. And I made a statement to Maria, and this is no offense to Maria's mom, but I've said, you sound like blah blah blah.
You're just like your mom.
Just like your mom. And I said it in a moment that there really isn't a good time to say that if you're in conflict. The only time you should say that about someone is when things are going well. If she would have said that like you're being just like your dad, that would have just set me over the edge. And it set her over the edge. And I felt for a brief second like, ah, gotcha. But it literally was like going scorched earth. And we recovered from it and whatnot, but it wasn't a good moment.
Yeah, hell has no fury like a woman scorned, honey.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. There was a situation a couple weekends ago to where words were exchanged, and I wasn't feeling the words were exchanged, and we let each other know. We've rebounded, you know, from our conflicts a lot better now, but de-escalation is just, if you feel that emotional urge coming and you feel that rush of adrenaline and you're just getting ready to dig in, don't dig in.
Don't dig in. Even if you have to just kind of step back and breathe and just pull it all together. One thing that helps me de-escalate a situation is I'm married to him. So it's not like I can get the keys and leave, or I can break up with him, or I can, you know, just be nonchalant and crass like I would be if I was dating him and he made me mad. But or I have been at times.
Well, but that's a good distinction. So, you know, the third thing is being mindful of yourself and your spouse. So the mindfulness just in general of yourself is understanding what are your triggers, what are your tendencies, what are the things that set you over the edge, what are the things that your spouse could do to set you over the edge. There's a good thing that Charles Stanley has. He's a minister down in Atlanta, and it's called HALT. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, so that's not 5 things, there's 4 things. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I could throw another one in there. It starts with an H, but I won't go there. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Yeah, that H word we give you all the time.
I'm just a man who's attracted to a beautiful wife. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If you're one of those, like if you're hungry, you ever seen those Snickers commercials? Like, you're not yourself when you're hungry. Well, you're not yourself when you're angry. You're not yourself when you're lonely. You're not yourself when you're tired. If you're a combination of those, you've really got an issue going on. So being mindful of that's really, really important. Ladies, I'll tell you this, if you are, a lot of times ladies are really, they can dig into feedback or conflict, you know, really, really quick, where guys are a little bit different, just generally speaking. So walking in from work, coming straight home into a situation of conflict or whatnot, for guys, a lot of times that puts us in a tough spot. Not to say that all guys are like that, not to say that all women are like that. I know that's something that I've had to adjust in our relationship, is being mindful of my triggers and knowing, like just like Maria said, sometimes it's okay to step away. But we have an agreement to say, like if I need to step away, we will pick up the conversation where we left it off and we will continue to make progress. That is not an excuse to stop dealing with the situation that you're talking about.
And I want to add to that, on top of being aware of your triggers and things like that, you also just kind of need to be aware of your emotions. Sometimes we misdirect our feelings, our emotions into anger or spitefulness or shutting down, distance, and it can make things a lot worse. So sometimes you have to just really sit still. For me, it's just sitting still. Like, I can be so mad at him, and I have to sit still and be like, am I really mad at him, or am I mad because maybe he's not doing XYZ as much as he was before and I missed that? Or so really being able to pull back in, because once you're able to do that, then you're able to move forward a lot quicker. I mean, those things help me so much to be able to identify where the emotions or the feelings are coming from. Are they coming from a place of sadness and I'm vulnerable because I'm sad and I don't think that my husband should make me sad, etc. So,
yeah. Fourth thing that we have going on is a common focus spiritually. Okay, you guys kind of know our background, you know, in our faith set. If your faith set is different, no big deal. But having some type of reference point outside of yourself, it is easy for me.
In a mutual reference point.
Yes, something that you both agree with. And I know that there are couples that probably, or one's Catholic, one's Jewish. You'll have to figure something out that works for you.
Maybe you guys have an author that you guys both agree on, or you like their style of relationship advice. Just having something that you can go back to and collectively you both agree on it on an equal level playing field. But yeah, for us it's the Bible. So whenever we have issues, we know that we need to get back in sync with God. Sometimes our out of syncness is because we're out of sync with the Lord, and as soon as we get right with Him, everything else just kind of melts down. Trickle effect.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, I mean, if you're in a situation to where, like, I'm a reader, like, it's kind of funny because Maria's a reader as well, but in a different way. Like, instructional stuff, manuals, recipes. Maria will follow directions. I hyperventilate when it comes down to like, let's put a table together and follow directions. I don't know what it is. But in terms of like emotional stuff or relationship stuff, I'm like a book first guy. And I had to really alter and change that.
And it's not fair. Sometimes I'm not fair to him about that. I did counseling for 10 years for myself to be a little bit better for myself before I ever got in a relationship. I just wanted to work on Maria, the woman I wanted to be, and really strive to get there. So I did counseling for 10 years about off and on. And so my emotional IQ is probably a little bit higher than most people's because I am so in touch and I just know who I am, and it's so important to just know yourself. It's so easy to get out of conflict and to be able to brush things off when you are confident and know yourself. But then sometimes I'm not as understanding. Is that it? Or I just be like, why don't you get it? Like,
sometimes you can know, there's two things.
I can be a little callous.
Sometimes you can know, sometimes you can get to the answer before people can, and there's frustration of, why don't you get it? But then there's the other side of counseling and your previous experience is really, really good. And this is not just to Maria, it's just global. But things change. Like the variables and the inputs on things change. Maria talks about, from the counseling piece, you're going to walk into a relationship and both of you are going to have different strengths and areas of opportunity. And one may be a little bit stronger in emotional intelligence, one may be a little bit behind. Remember that from a commitment to a relationship, you're just going to be in some different places. There are some strengths that I've had to allow Maria to bring into my life. I fought some of them at first, and there's some strengths that I've brought into her life as well. Taking feedback. Like, I went from being a very, very sensitive individual to, I had to grow some thick skin because I needed to allow her to be able to speak into my life in her own way and not have to feel like she was being guarded or, as she would say, handling me with kid gloves. I just remember one day telling her, like, dude, whatever you have to do, however you have to get it out, you fuss, cut, whatever, just get it out. And I've had to eat those words. There have been times where I've had to remind myself, like, okay, you told her, she's got to get it out. That sometimes may mean that I don't like to hear something or how it was said or when it was said, but it has removed a significant hurdle. And it's made me a better person as well. It's made me a better person at work. And I've learned her style as well when I can interject, into her life too. Like when's the time, when's the right thing too. The last thing, guys, is to remember your vows and your commitment. That sounds really, really simple, but I was thinking during this last time that we had, that we were kind of out of sync. Like, you go off and you say your vows like one time, and I can tell you the essence of my vows, but I couldn't like repeat them. I was actually really thinking about writing down like a reminder almost on a weekly basis, like what my vows are. What are they like in the fray? Like with Garrison screaming, dinner needs to be ready, like those type of things. And it's not a contractual equipment or agreement to where, hey, I fell short in these areas. I always fall short. You're just going to do that. But I thought about that, like, wow, I need to remember my vows. And the core essence of my vows are built around my love for Maria, a sacrifice, trust, and sometimes that means you give more than you feel like you should or that you receive. There are different stages in life. We're in a stage in life where careers are new, babies are new, house is new. It's got a lot of new stuff that's going on. So those are kind of the anchoring things. Just to recap and review the principles that will drive these 7, and then we'll walk through and be done. Assume positive intent. Take a position of de-escalation versus escalation. Be mindful of yourself and also your spouse. Have a common focus spiritually. And then 5, remember your vows and commitments. So the first thing, if you're out of sync,
just to realize you're out of sync.
Right. Realize you're out of sync. Like, sometimes it sneaks up on you. Sometimes there are signs you kind of lead to this path of being out of sync. It's
and
that
one day you just look up and you're like,
wow, how did I get here? Like, and why did I get here? But the realization that you're out of sync, like, hi, my name is Robert Loggins, I have a problem. It's the whole, AA thing. It's the same thing that applies.
Hold yourself accountable.
Hold yourself accountable. So this is kind of on an individual level, because what you might see is one individual
will notice it and the other one might
notice it and the other one might not. A lot of times, there's three scenarios that happens. One scenario is where the more sensitive or emotionally intelligent spouse can kind of see things aren't adding together, okay, and or a partner will see that, and they'll make an attempt. Like, I could feel Maria, I look back in the past, making attempts trying to like convince herself everything is okay, but things probably really weren't. And not that we were going through anything horrible, we're just really, really busy and just out of sync. Another scenario is where it's kind of the opposite, piece of that as well. It's to where you have an individual that may not have the higher emotional piece, but may be demonstrating a little bit of out of sync behavior. It may come up in financial conversations. It may come up in intimate conversations, physical intimacy conversations.
That's a good point.
It may come up in different ways.
Stuff that you might normally be just really good at, or just normally you don't have any hiccups. It's just a normal thing. All of a sudden becomes
areas of
irritation.
Because when you're out of sync, those are areas that are high connection points. Physical intimacy, finances, kids, any of those areas where you're having to work together. Then the other thing is kind of when you both come to the same realization, and that may come to a head actually during a conflict or whatnot. The thing that I would be careful doing is defaulting to we're just not on the same page. I did that to Maria one time, and that you got to really, really be careful with that. You may legitimately not be on the same page, but make sure that you use safe terminology inside of your relationship, because terms may mean something to me that may mean something different to Maria. Now, we've done a pretty good job of like defining certain terms or phrases that mean things. So you won't hear us a lot say, you won't hear me a lot say, we're not on the same page, okay? The second thing is to really stop and think about how you got this way. Just stop for a second. Don't dig in with your partner.
Is it outside
people? Is mama say something?
Right, is work pulling you? Are the kids pulling you? You just have to find where the balance is being shifted.
Yeah, because in our last 6 to 9 months, had some good stuff at my job is happened and changed, increased responsibilities. You guys are seeing a lot more content come from. Maria went from like a video or 2 videos every other week to like, there was a couple months or her average month is like 9 to 12 videos, and that's just on her other channel, not even including this channel. So that's a lot of content, that's a lot of pulling. She had her shoe business that she was doing. We talked through that. That was a process to go through. So she's kind of whittled down. Garrison is just an explosive growth phase right now.
Oh my God,
family issues. We've had 3 deaths in the last, 4 deaths in the last 12 to 18 months. So there's just a lot going on, and we both hustle hard, we both work hard. I get up a little bit earlier.
I go to bed a lot later.
He goes to bed a little bit later. So
literally the other day I got in bed and his alarm was going off for him to get up. Like, it's not a joke.
Yeah, so we realize now that, hey, it's late in the day and I'm a little bit tired. I've been up a long time. But this is a way for us to connect. I know how important this is, obviously, to you guys, but it's also important to Maria as well. And this is a way for us to connect. Where these type of things would have been a point of contention. So stop and think about how you got where you are, okay? Look internally first, look externally to the different factors, and be thinking about that as you get ready to get into the next step. And that's looking inward, like not just what have I done or what have I not done, but what can I do as well.
Right. Try to come up with the resolution on your own for yourself. Not to come up with a resolution of, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, and this would be better if you just did this. No, hold yourself accountable and think, what can I do to change some things? For instance, he just mentioned our off-syncness was due to just heavy workloads and just not having enough intimate time as a couple. And not necessarily just mean sex, but just like we do everything together. And since we had Garrison, we all three do everything together. And as a married couple or as a couple in general, you just need to have that time alone with your significant other. So for me, I knew that I was doing too much, and it was causing animosity, and it was causing stress.
I had a spirit of resentment I was doing what I was supposed to do, but there was resentment that was coming out. Not that I didn't want Maria to experience the growth that she had, but you know, we didn't have enough connection points. But some of the things that we've done with that, and that shifts into the what can I do. So
I got rid of my shoe company. Yeah.
I've made for me, a couple things in my brain have kind of clicked. Like, it's the realization of, you know, Maria has Garrison all day, you know, and I knew that, okay, and I didn't expect for dinner, my clothes being around and a bunch of other stuff when I came home, but coming home to cook kind of gets old. But when you shift your mindset to the realization that both of us are given 110%, you know, it takes that down to just say, you know, can I just give a little bit more? And if you're both kind of taking that framework of, can I give a little bit more? Can I meet my spouse can I meet my partner at their point of need? And right now, the point of need for Maria is, you know, I do a lot of the meal stuff. No big deal. When I get home, I take Garrison, you know, to give her that time to work. And the thing that we did as well, which we'll talk a little bit more about this later, I call it setting a hope rally point. And our hope rally point is, in a couple of months, hopefully Garrison will be in a program, and we'll start transitioning Maria's time in the middle of the day to more of a traditional schedule. That may mean she's a night owl a bit. That may mean she may still have some time, but it will be interesting to see.
I think I've been doing really good though. Besides the traveling, right now I'm working at night because of travel, and I have a lot to get done before I leave the home. So, but normally I've been going to bed before him. Some nights.
So it ebbs and flows. But so, you know, what can you do as an individual, and then, you know, what have you done as well? And then the next one, the fourth thing, is make an intentional effort to connect. So connection does not happen by accident. Okay, and there are countless things, and we're in this transition to where, you know, we're going on our 4th year of marriage. And the cool thing about the run up to marriage is there's this pursuit. And, you know, fellas, this is to the guys. Don't ever stop pursuing your girl. Don't stop doing that. Okay. That's a very, very important thing. And pursuit is everything from flowers and roses to washing dishes, cooking. Whatever pursuit is in your relationship, you'll have to, you know, define that, and the definition of that may not be very explicit. You have to really pay attention to your significant other, and this is for my ladies as well. And pursuit is very, very important. I think everyone loves to have someone that kind of fawns or really thinks about them, but you have to be also willing to go somewhere, sit down, and be captured as well. You know, that's very, very important. So there's two dynamics, there's two sides to that. You know, you have to be available, and then, you know, fellas, you need to be pursuing as well. But that intentional effort to connect, for us, it's as small as, hey, we're going to read a couple chapters in the Bible every night. And that serves two purposes. That gets back to the focus on the spiritual component. It allows us to do a little bit of study together, and whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then the other thing is, you know, I just mentioned to Maria, like, I feel sometimes like we both have the burden of the thought of the expectation that the other one has. Whether it's like, man, he wants
and we
all
both
this,
have such a high level of pleasing. We're both doers and pleasers. So I would, like, when we were off sync, I found myself unable to work because I would, instead of me spending my time wisely and getting my job complete and then spending time with my husband, I would go back and forth and try to just show him that I know I'm working a lot, but I love you, and just like snuggle for like 2 seconds and then go back and work.
And that was frustrating to me. So with her good intent and her good effort, and again, this is going back to, sometimes I was telling you guys that I'll just speak for me, you know, focus on positive intent. Like, I couldn't even see the intent. you know, and it wasn't all horrible. You don't just wake up and fall off, and it's just kind of a gradual thing. But what we had in that is, you know, love languages can sometimes be a little bit different, but she was making that effort, making that attempt to try. In my own mind, I was making efforts and attempts to try as well, but sometimes you just miss each other, you know. So what we've done now is we've said, hey, you know, let's at a minimum, just 10, 15 minutes of this right here, just sit down with each other, hold each other, touch each other, FaceTime. And if that's all we can do on a given day, then that's okay. But at least we were very intentional about our connection. We usually, here recently, you know, with Garrison and his schedule, and he's kind of been off on a weird nap schedule and whatnot. When I get home, we usually do some type of family walk, or we'll go out to the store or something. But it may be, you know, me feeding Garrison and me watching Garrison eat or helping him eat. But I try to save dinner time for me and Maria. It's late. We both haven't had dinner yet. We will have dinner after this video. That's another way to connect.
Yeah.
And then the other things that I try to do is was slacked on this in the past few months, but just, hey, have a good day, give a kiss. I try not to disrupt Maria, but she's usually up when I'm getting ready to head out. And then also saying goodnight as well. Those are like little bitty small things just to remind your spouse that you care for them, that you love them, and that you're not just roommates. The worst thing you can do is fall into a situation with your roommates. Now, if you're in a roommate situation, it's totally different. Again, these principles kind of apply outside of a, you know, marital relationship, but in the same token, you guys will have to be smart enough to convert these for you. 5, allow yourself and your partner to talk the issues out, and do not be either offensive nor defensive. And we talked about that a little bit already. You're going to have your own language, okay?
Right, and I don't know, like my husband said, I can be very direct and blunt. In the beginning, I understood that he was a little bit more sensitive, and he definitely was not used to my style. So I pulled back, and it was fine, you know. And I let him know, you know, eventually I'm gonna just give it to you, you know. Which I've never just disrespected him and just went all out, because that's just not even, I respect him too much. Like, I respect him so much, I wouldn't even do that. But I think that I'm tired, obviously, because my brain just went blank. I've never had that happen.
Maria has, I've had to harden a little bit in some areas. Maria's had to soften in some areas, and vice versa as well. And I know for us, in terms of talking the issue out, Maria has to, in my mind, has to exhaust the entire issue. Like, if the issue is only 50% exhausted, she's gonna get the rest of that 50%, whether it's in conversation right now or a little bit later on. And I've learned.
And in conversation, it doesn't mean like nagging or bickering or arguing.
She just wants to know.
I like closure, and I like full disclosure. I know that sounded nice.
That was good.
Full disclosure.
The brain's back working.
But what I was going to say is, it kind of went away again. Sorry, guys. It'll come back, because it keeps coming back when he's talking. So I'm just going to jump in.
Just jump in.
Okay.
So you just have to allow yourself to deal with the issue as you see fit.
It's nothing better than being heard.
Yes.
He doesn't have to agree with me. I don't have to always agree with what he's saying, but to sit there and listen to him.
There have been times where I have
nothing better than
said to Maria, I hear you. I appreciate what you have to say, but my mind has not changed. There have been a few rare times. Now, a lot of times, and this goes out to the guys again, a lot of times guys, we're instructed to just rush to say I'm sorry, like you need to say I'm sorry and this and that. And this is an observation that I have from just being around a lot of ladies, including Maria, including my own mom, is a lot of times I feel like, and this may not be true to you ladies, this is not a stereotype, but ladies can say I'm sorry for like trivial stuff, like, you know.
Oh, I didn't cook dinner,
I'm sorry. Or, you know, I stepped in front of you at the mall, I'm sorry. You just notice, I notice a lot of that. Y'all don't say I'm sorry from what I've seen on the like big stuff. Or guys won't say sorry on the trivial stuff. Like, you know, I stepped in front of you. Well, you know, I don't care. You know, it's your bad, you know. But on the big stuff, you know, oh, I'm so sorry and this and that. That's just an observation. Take that for whatever it's worth. But what I will say is there's been a couple times where I've said, you know what, Maria? I'm actually not sorry for what I've done. Like because I'm not, you know. And
it was intentional. We
have a very open and honest relationship, and there have been some times where, now what I've noticed from Maria is if she gets feedback and it's worth acting upon, she'll act upon it. And I can notice in the behavior, like, okay, we talked about this on this date and it changed.
Never happened again.
So you have to pay attention to your
But I might not apologize.
You might not apologize, so you have to pay attention.
But I'll change.
You know, to that. So that's the whole thing about just talking the issue out.
Or I'll come back and be like, you right.
She gets that from a friend of hers. That's so funny.
You right.
The sixth thing is, after you listen, establish a mutually agreed upon focal point. So I talked a little bit about that hope rally point. So for us, there's a couple ways to look at that. One focal point is, okay, what truly are we focusing on from a goal standpoint? So you guys may know this, I think you know this, but every year we set out goals that we're trying to accomplish each year. You know, our first year of marriage was for me to get a job that can support the family. The second year was to have a child. The third year was to have a house. In this fourth year, it could be a second child, but really the goal is to see Maria's career blossom and grow and develop.
And to get our debt.
And to get our debt paid down. All right. So we're always looking out a couple years in advance. So that's one thing. So sometimes you have to remind yourself of what those goals are. So right now, for me, if the goal is to, you know, pay our debt down and to help Maria's career get off the ground, those things are interconnected, and that means I may need to lean in a little bit, you know, in some of the aspects of home. I feel like I do a lot already, but sometimes you have to lean in a little bit more because you're looking at the total amount of energy that the house is able to expend.
And sometimes it's not even leaning in more. It might just be leaning in longer than what you think you should. So it's not necessarily that like I'm just dumping everything on him. It's just he might have to watch Garrison a little bit longer until we get him into a program, and then both of us will have him in the evening.
But that's that hope. That's that rally point that you have to say, because when we talked about this back in January, it was like, okay, I'm traveling a bunch. You got to get your career, Garrison. These next 4 or 5 months are going to be a challenge. Like it is okay to say that. It's actually a good thing to say that, because it's an admission and an acknowledgement. Like, okay, we're getting ready to go through a challenging path. So here's what happens. The external forces that you have around you, job, family, school, work, those type of things, those things are always going to ebb and flow and change. But if you can point out and you look out on the horizon and say, hey, I know I've got something coming up ahead of me, or Maria may say, you know, I want to put 20 videos out this month because this is a really, really big month. We can at least have that agreement on the upfront so you can calibrate expectations. One of the things that I've been doing here recently is speaking in some really, really heavy terms, okay? Using terms like, that made me angry, or I was afraid, or I was really joyful, or I had a lot of peace. And it's the identification of those emotions. And one of the big things that a lot of frustration or a lot of conflict comes from is frustration, which is basically anger. And what is anger? It's when you had an expectation for something and it didn't come in there, okay? And that's okay, that's gonna happen in life. You have to constantly calibrate yourself so you can really not have that negative tension there. So once you have your mutually agreed, you know, focal point, and you all are focused, you're aligned, you've got some type of externally mutually agreed upon spiritual reference point, or some type of activities that you all are doing, you know, together to connect, put the past behind you and live, you know? One of the things that I've tried to work really, really hard on is just putting things behind and not allowing the conflicts that we have. Now we can laugh about stuff, and there literally have been conflicts.
But the key to being able to put things behind is fully putting them to rest. You can't just say, you have to, or it's going to always come back up.
Here's the key thing on that, I believe, and this goes back to the whole sorry, and this is a very, very important lesson that I've had to learn, where I would say, I'm sorry. One of the things I've learned about being sorry or saying that you're sorry is you need to know what you're sorry for and be very, very specific. Like, Not the conditional I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry if I made you mad. You know, if you have to say if on a sorry, you might want to question your words on that. You should just go ahead and be like, I'm sorry that I made you mad. Or you should stun up and be like, I made you mad and I'm not sorry. Right. And you may be right for that. And that may take you down more conflict with that individual.
The truth
but at least you're being honest though. So, Maria, I am sorry that I did not treat you in a loving way the past 3 months. That's very, very specific. Now, Maria may sit and be like, well, give me an example. She's never done that to me before, but she's well within her right. You know, if that's not specific enough, get specific. But once all that stuff is behind you, let it be behind you. Learn from it, be able to laugh from it. Now, there are some old things and conflicts that we may not laugh about. They're probably very small. I can't think of any off the top of my head. We chuckle about most of the stuff that we've and then there are some things in conflicts that are repetitive issues for us. And you may see that that's okay. You know, marriage is like a gym. Marriage is like a workout. You don't build muscle, you don't build endurance without going through some type of resistance, okay?
Which is your growing pains.
Which is your growing pains. And we're almost 4 years in. I hope to not be struggling with the things at year 4 or 5 that we struggle with in 1 or 2, but there's always going to be something because those external variables are always going to be changing. God forbid we have a sick child or one of us loses a job or a parent or insert whatever. All those things are going to change. But, you know, we work pretty hard to make sure that we stay in sync. So those are kind of the 7 steps that we've identified. There's an optional step. We do this by vlogging with you guys and by recording a lot, and that's to journal. It's very empowering to kind of scribe down a few notes. Some of you have the mental horsepower to just catalog it mentally, and you can talk through it. Maria and I both have pretty decent memories when it comes to that type of stuff.
And then some stuff
It's interesting. Some stuff she just doesn't recall, whatever. I'm probably a little bit more impressionable on things because I have just a strong desire. Like, I can tell you that there was a time when I came at home and she told me specifically this right here. And I remember it every time I go in the door. She told me, you know, I don't like when you come home and your energy is not at a certain level. So when I come in the door, I remember that conversation, you know. So you have to be careful how you do those things because sometimes things change as well. So I've had
that was before I had kids. In a heavy workload.
Yeah, so the expectations have been recalibrated, but
now he can come home and do whatever he wants to do because now I get to work.
That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, it post your comments and your feedback, and I hope this video is helpful to you and to your significant other, spouse, partner, relationship that you're in. Staying in sync and having a relationship to where you never fall out of sync, I don't believe that's possible. It doesn't sound like it passes the natural law sniff test. But in the same token, remember one of the things that we talked about earlier, conflict is a path to intimacy. Intimacy not always meaning sexual, but intimacy meaning the closeness, the proximity of really having, you know, that individual's heart and their best will, you know, in your hand. So that's kind of all I've got. She's hungry and sleepy.
I'm so sleepy.
She's been up for a while, so.
But that was a good topic.
Thanks.
You did good. He orchestrated that, you guys. Did you see how I just let him handle it? He got it. He got it and go with it.
I've been trained by the best. So
I hate when he says that. I hate when he calls me his boss or he says I've been trained.
That's a man thing, dude. Men do that.
Why? It makes me feel like maybe people will perceive me as being like a man.
No, all men. Fellas, chime in on this. All men. Most guys talk about their wife as, I gotta go home and ask for permission to the boss. Because you guys know, like when we go home and we want to do something, you'd be like, you know, babe, do you mind if I go out to Buffalo Wild Wings and watch the game? Well, ladies come home and they'd be like, I'm going out with the girls. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's great, babe. That's fantastic. That's no problem at all. Maybe not. We're a little bit weird.
We don't really go out. Very rare. Separately. Well,
this one right here asks permission like a mug. Man, I spend $60 with the girls to go. I'm like, babe, yes. Please go out. Go out some more. But You're not the boss. We're equals.
We are.
We're equals. What is the term of endearment, though?
Is it?
Because I do work for you.
It makes me feel like so.
You are rare.
Okay. Pays the cost to be the boss, huh?
I don't mind working for you.
All right.
Take pride. Don't y'all take pride in working for your wife? I take pride in working for mine. I would live in like a 2-bedroom house, half bath, be sleeping on milk crates if it wasn't for you. He
would too.
Yeah, wearing the gray. Y'all, she let me wear the gray hoodie on the vlog. I was like, yeah, the gray hoodie.
One of our viewers was like, him in that sweatsuit.
Peep this, so I'm at work. I'm at work, all right, and I had a lady that I work with. So I have a more professional hoodie that I have as well. It looks a little bit better.
It's a hoodie?
Yeah, the gray. The
nice Adidas?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, okay.
And my colleague was like, "Dog, is the hoodie like shoe wear?" And I thought of you. I was like, if I could wear a hoodie every day, I would. It's my uniform. So, from the man in the gray hoodie and his lovely bride, peace out. Stay in sync.
Stay in sync, you guys. Make sure you chime in down below. Make sure you're subscribed to see more of our small talks, and we'll see you guys Friday and next Wednesday. Bye.
About to get on this salmon salad sandwich. Y'all will hear about that later.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We really enjoy having you as part of our viewing community. Please make sure you subscribe. We do post new vlogs weekly, and check out our older vlogs as well. There's a lot of great content there. And while you're at it, also look at our small talk playlist. There's just a lot of great information about family, finances, marriage, just general stuff that we go through, and I think you do too. Again, subscribe. It's our way of knowing that you like what we're putting out. We really enjoy this, and we hope you do too.